I got something that we can disagree with. Sorry, somebody else we can disagree with. As Pro Football Focus ranked their 10 best returning NFL head coaches. So even though like Mike Vrabel is a former NFL head coach once again, he doesn't count because he's a new face in a new place.
Yeah.
And lo and behold, looking there at number 10, Kevin Stefanski is right there in the pocket in the top 10.
So you guys might be thinking to yourself, wow, is NFL head coaching, is it in the gutter right now? Are we just in a really bad time for NFL head coaching?
That's your takeaway? Not that he actually might be a top 10 head coach?
I wonder if people are thinking that, because you would think to yourself, if Kevin Stefanski with one playoff win in his entire time here entering year 6, if he's cracking the top 10, maybe we're just in a down period of NFL head coaches. But then you read the list. We're not in a down period at all. We're in like a juggernaut of NFL head coaches. And the guys that are around Kevin Stefanski or leading up to Stefanski in this list, Kyle Shanahan, Sirianni, who just won the Super Bowl, Dan Campbell, and then you're into Kevin Stefanski.
And can we all agree nobody in the NFL actually thinks Nick Sirianni is one of the 10 best head coaches? Just before we get the Kevin thing, nobody believes that. I mean, half of the media, more than half the media, thought that guy was going to get fired halfway through last season. He has perpetually been referred to as a joke, starting with his press conferences, but then I started with his press conference, introductory press conference back when we got hired. But there's 1 or 2 times a year where we just make fun of Nick Sirianni for being a goober. I got to say, and by the way, don't hate him being top 10, but just nobody thinks that.
I mean, he is a goober. I think he is, as far as outsourcing is concerned, I think he does that at an extremely high rate. It's incredible the amount of credit. We should have just given this to Howie Roseman is what we should have done. We should have just made Howie Roseman the number 8th best head coach in the NFL.
That would have been so insulting, but yet very funny.
Well, how insulting is a list, though, if you have a guy that just won the Super Bowl and he wouldn't crack the top 10? Like, you win the Super Bowl the previous year, you probably get propped up to be in the top 10.
Does a Super Bowl make you not a dodo? Because he's a bit of a dodo.
No, I think it does. I think it eliminates the dodo aura that you might have if you win a Super Bowl.
So this is the Bull Durham theory that when you're in the minor leagues and you don't wash your shower shoes, you're a so-and-so.
Mm-hmm.
When you do it in the pros, making $100 million a year, you're a god.
Yeah, basically.
Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what this is. I think he's got like the 3rd highest winning percentage in the regular season in NFL history. He's been to 2 Super Bowls, won a Super Bowl. He's done it.
So okay,
he's doing it.
Here, so this actually does speak to maybe people don't believe he's a unanimously a top 10.
Something he's doing is working.
But he's winning consistently and winning at a clip that is incredibly impressive, as is Kevin O'Connell in a very short stint in Minnesota so far. 2 years less than Stefanski in Cleveland? But you look at what Kevin O'Connell's done with, by the way, is it 2 different quarterbacks, 3 different quarterbacks? Kevin O'Connell not ahead of Kevin Stefanski.
Yeah, I'm just looking for him right here.
LaFleur
not there.
In Green Bay, who's consistently been in the playoffs or on the precipice of the playoffs, not ahead of Kevin Stefanski. And I think if you polled 100% of Browns fans right now, that would be impossible. If you polled 3% of Browns fans, because that's the number that I'm going with this summer, I don't think you'd get 100% of people to agree he's a top 10. I don't think, and by the way, I don't think you get 100% of people thinking he's a bottom 10 either. I just think he exists somewhere in the middle. Having him top 10 and letting 2 Coach of the Years carry a lot of water, which is a media award, which is susceptible to somebody polishing those relationships, and that's part of what I think has happened here. It is preposterous that he is a top 10 coach in the NFL.
I think the national media pities Kevin Stefanski. I think they don't look at it like he's the bad coach or he's a reason why they won 3 games last year or don't have success. I think they look at Stefanski and think, oh, you poor thing, as if he's an innocent bystander in everything that went down in acquiring Deshaun Watson. But they look at him like that, as if like we just have to feel bad for you. In any other situation, you would be Kevin O'Connell in their mind.
Has any head coach that right now isn't even a 500 head coach in their career, has any coach gotten more of a pass for the issues around an organization than Kevin Stefanski? Thinking of Baker, flaming out here, then going to Tampa 2 years later and becoming the best version of himself.
Well, and that's the beautiful part about having someone like Jimmy Haslam around you, because he really does just take all of the flack and all of the bullets that come from a national media that for years was right to say Jimmy Haslam is the problem here, and it is not the head coach, but it's not really the case right now.
I'm glad you said that, because I actually am one of the people who think if Kevin in a more Nick Sirianni type role, meaning all your job is to go there, coach on game days, and you don't necessarily have to be the biggest rah-rah leader because leadership comes from elsewhere in the building. You're not necessarily going to be able to pick every player you want, but you'll have a little bit of an influence. But basically, your job is go out there on Sundays and give your team a chance to win. I actually would think in a better situation, Kevin could be a different head coach. I don't know better, but a different head coach. The problem is he is involved in these decisions, and nobody in the NFL is like, I mean, what's Kevin's role in the Deshaun thing? He's just absentia. He just, he is an innocent bystander. It's like, what NFL head coach outside of Nick Sirianni could you move on from one quarterback you've had success with to go on to chase a big name quarterback with a lot of issues? What other head coach could get just scot-free? I'm not saying he has to be hammered for it. He's not dead to it starts with Andrew Berry on that one. But no blame? Like, that's why. Oh, by the way, he's an offensive head coach who's been credited for Jacoby Brissett looking like Joe Montana in Cleveland, which he didn't. Yeah. Joe Flacco looking like Joe Montana in Cleveland, which he didn't. Like, his whole thing is you were functional with crappy quarterbacks. And the problem is the thing about the other quarterbacks he's had where it hasn't looked functional.
It's really mystifying how we've gotten here where it just feels like everyone. Well, I think the problem is that everyone thinks that they give him credit for a team that he hasn't been able to yet coach. The Minnesota thing takes a lot of runway when it comes to Stefanski and what he did in getting that team to an NFC title game. But the fact that we're 6 years into it and we're still quoting what happened 6 years ago, 7 years ago now, it's an issue. It's a real issue. But I think people believe that if you gave this team the roster and you gave them a really good team, Stefanski could go ahead and coach them to greatness. And we have no evidence to suggest that that's true at this point.
And I just look at this and go, I don't think he's a top. I don't think he's if you put all the head coaches in the NFL, I don't think he's a bottom 10 NFL coach either. Like, I think Kevin is capable in a lot of ways, but he still has a lot to show me in terms of leadership, in terms of coaching and having success with bad teams teams outperforming where we thought they were. And so, like to see, here's the thing, to see Super Bowl winners right in front of Kevin and knowing guys who have had more consistent success behind him to multiple conference championship games like LaFleur has in Green Bay with two different quarterbacks, by the way, and juggling that gap between Aaron Rodgers to Jordan Love, there's a part of me that looks at this and goes like, okay, if we take away the two coach of the years,
difference is they
spin me this story.
They act as if he had been given the same job that Matt LaFleur was given, where you have Aaron Rodgers into Jordan Love. They believe that Kevin Stefanski's career would be entirely different. I don't know that it would be at this point. I like Stefanski. I've been in Stefanski's corner way more than I've been against Stefanski, but I don't have enough evidence to suggest that he would do the job that Matt LaFleur has done in Green Bay.
It's interesting you said what you just said there, because I think there's a fair amount of Kevin. It might not sound like that how we talk about Kevin. They're coming off a 3-14 season. We're going to sound harsher on him, results based alone. I don't think Kevin's the biggest problem here, but I do think when you put him top 10, and again, more successful coaches around them, you're absolving him of any of the things that led him to be a .470 winning percentage in the regular season head coach. And to me, it speaks to a stubbornness of a resolve of no. He's a two-time coach of the year in the NFL. That can't matter more. Like your analysis of Kevin nationally, that can't matter more than the wins and losses. And when we start to wage success versus failure here, we're talking about PFF ranking Kevin Stefanski as the 10th best returning head coach in the NFL. I don't really have a problem saying it's possible we should be giving Stefanski more credit. It's just impossible to, because I think there's the Clevelander perspective on Kevin, which I think is earned because we've watched him coach. And again, you're always a little tougher or lighter on people that you see up close versus the detached reality of national sports in the national perspective. So they're very rarely ever going to be simpatico with each other. But I think it's okay, especially coming off 3-14, that we're a little more critical. But yeah, I mean, I do think, I don't think, and listen, if you think he's a top 10 coach, I don't think you're right. If you think he's one of the worst coaches in the NFL, I don't think you're right.
Mm-hmm.
So I that probably does beg to, because there are people who say he's the worst coach in the NFL. It's not true. So yeah, we probably should give him a little bit more credit. The problem is, the deeper we go into this, the less success we're having.
Yeah, it's interesting to me that I feel like a lot of the national media, they just give this pass to him because of the team that he's been in charge of coaching. And it's like he's not held here against his will. He was here and he wanted to coach Deshaun Watson. That was part of the deal. And it hasn't worked out. But then we just kind of look at it like it's okay. You don't have to be great in these moments. Meanwhile, you go back to all the other quarterbacks that they then want to prop up and say, well, he can do this with anybody. Well, how about the quarterback that you had the most responsibility for in Deshaun Watson? I mean, he got injured, sure, but when he was on the field, he didn't do anything that you could go ahead and write home about.
And I mean, even specifically what you just said, when he was on the field, he didn't do anything. And they wasted last year trying to move to an offense when they probably should have done that first. And that's something that just isn't held against Kevin at all.
No one ever brings that up in a national perspective, and it's confounding to me.
So it is like we're in this weird position of, again, I don't think Kevin's a bad head coach. I'm pretty sure he's not a great head coach.
Let's put it this way. If Kevin got fired tomorrow, am I saying that's a raw deal he got? Absolutely not.
No, and by the way, you can say that and still think he can have success in a new venture if he picks the right job.
Well, I think that's the idea, though, is that, like, if you were to say, oh boy, he got hosed here, he never stood a chance, then you're more likely than not to think that there was other factors at play. Whereas I put some of the other factors at his feet.
What's interesting about this is I think this perception is going to help Kevin very, very quickly rebound if they go 3-14 again this season. Because I don't think
at some point people have to start breaking away from what they initially thought of him.
I mean, if 3-14 last year and the way that they failed, and they failed spectacularly last year, he cannot be absolved of that. He's being absolved of that.
He is right now. I think eventually, I do think it will turn. I think it will. If you go 3-14 again, I think the national media will start to wisen up. I have an example for why I think is happening in Miami with Mike McDaniel. Mike McDaniel was, everyone looks at him like, oh, I got a buddy like that. He seems like a stoner. Just kind of seems like he's like best friends with Dan Soder's. He's got a funny side to himself. And you watch in the past year or so as people have just kind of just moved off this idea that he's some sort of offensive wonder and his relatability is off the charts and people love playing for him. I think that will happen to Stefanski this upcoming season.
You know, what's interesting is I don't, because the Haslams are just so much more maligned.
And maybe that's his big shield.
Than Stephen Ross.
Maybe that's his big shield.
Despite the fact that they really have had roughly the same amount of success in the last 13 years of owning franchises.
Well, and Ross, too. I mean, he had all sorts of different issues pop up within himself, too. Think about the Tom Brady fiasco and scandal. He's had his own things, too.
And did not stick to him. I know. The Haslams really are in the rarefied air of ownership groups where things have stuck to them. And it's funny, it's not the losing. Isn't that wild? It's not the losing. It's somewhere between the stuff that happened at Pilot Flying J and this Deshaun thing. And honestly, I don't even think it's just the Pilot Flying J stuff. Everything really started to stick to them in terms of people's perception and willingness to speak of, Jimmy's some sort of Svengali, or, Kevin Stefanski's a Manchurian candidate. All that stuff really began post Baker Mayfield and during the current Deshaun thing, which speaks to, I think, some of the phoniness around the NFL media.
The comical rewrite on that is the idea that everyone acts like the Browns were the only team involved in Deshaun Watson.
Yeah.
He takes so much blame, and 12 teams were in on Deshaun Watson until he nailed it down to his final four.
I mean, Jimmy, I'm not trying to relitigate this, and nor do I want to take the show down this, but I make the point. If we say what's a worse sin? Convincing someone into making the worst trade in NFL history, or making sure the worst trade in NFL history got done. So coming up with the idea, germinating it, getting everybody on your side, and then talking an owner into the Deshaun trade versus, hey, we're out. Well, have you thought about giving him a fully guaranteed contract? I think one of the, and I think one of those is far more insidious than
Sure.
the other, and it's Andrew Berry's role and Kevin's role in talking Haslam into moving off Baker.
Haslam's not a football guy. Like I hate the idea that so many people always put that at the feet of Haslam, as if Haslam was the one scouting out Deshaun Watson and is supposed to be the one that's paid to know whether or not Deshaun can come back from the type of injuries that he went through and the time off that he went through. That's not his job. That's Stefanski and Berry's job. They have to be better in those moments.
But I look at Kevin and I go, there is still hope in me this year. And I don't want to say this year that he can, all of a sudden I think differently of Kevin, but that there's still a chance here that Kevin can help right the ship, not in 1 year, but over the next 2 years. And maybe we can get back to putting Kevin in a position to be the best version of himself, which starts with Kevin, by the way.
Oh, you said not 1 year. I think that's interesting. I actually think if he gets Kenny Pickett to be awesome, or if he gets any one of these other quarterbacks to be awesome, and I say awesome, I'm not saying just like whatever, but awesome, where to the point where you go into the next draft and you're not taking a quarterback and it's based off of him being that quarterback whisperer, then I do think Stefanski he'll fly into all these top 10 rankings. He'll be perceived as what he currently seems like he's being perceived as to PFF.
As long as you win. If he gets 10 wins, and I really do believe this, if he's at 10 wins, they're in the playoffs. Kenny Pickett's in the playoffs, and you're sailing
you
forward.
can do this in one season.
But if you're a 7-win team and Kenny Pickett looks really, really good, I don't think you're getting all the full credit. And maybe some of that, by the way, is baked in just into what you said. Maybe some of this is just baked in my thought that I don't think the quarterback's here. So that's why I kind of moved on to 2026 already.
I mean, think about the steal that people will be and the credit they'll be trying to give Stefanski based off of if you don't have to spend one of your your two first-round picks on quarterback, and you get to do skill position players or whatever actually helps out the team the most. I mean, it'll be paying off your weight in gold there.
I don't know it'll happen immediately, but if Kevin were to go through this season, they're 3-14 again. I don't know it'll happen day one. But over time, much like Kenny Pickett was sweet, sweet booty stank in Pittsburgh, and given a year and Philadelphia having team success that he gets credit for, all of a sudden it was Kenny Pickett got screwed in Pittsburgh or Kenny Pickett was harmed by Pittsburgh. I guarantee you that same narrative will play out for Kevin Stefanski, even if this is another 3-14 season. Because here's the thing, the amount of passes he's been given, it's not just passes for 3-14 or 8-win seasons and 7-win seasons previously when they had a butt ton of talent on their team. It's the pass for Baker. It's a pass for Deshaun. Like there's nothing. He is the Teflon Don of head coaches. Nothing has stuck to him from the national media. And that's I don't have any reason to believe something will stick to him going forward.
Yeah, if I keep going, it's kind of like doubting Mike Tomlin to have a winning record. It's like at some point I'll be right and he won't have a winning record. But how many years in a row can I suggest that he won't have a winning record? Like, I mean, 3 years, 4 years for Stefanski will be like eventually the national media is going to turn on what's going on here. And we could wake up 3-4 years down the road and they're like, just none the wiser, I guess.